Hello, how are you? It's Cameron here from Freedom Solar and Batteries here at Charmhaven on the sunny central coast of New South Wales. What are the current topics this month? Well, the main news topics about in the solar industry that you'll see on the news is about the probability or the possibility that you are going to get charged for your solar export back to the grid. And the other main topic is about the peak demand charge that has appeared in everyone's bill. So I'll cover both of them off and maybe a couple of solutions that could help that. But the first one being that this is a change to the rules that is actually, the rules were changed a couple of years ago, but to do with how much you get paid for a feed-in tariff for your solar export back to the grid. So what's that about is that the surplus solar energy that you generated out of your inverter but didn't use, you export back to the grid. It's sent back to the grid and they pay you a feed-in tariff. And that's the way it's always been since we basically started putting solar on our roofs. Now, the feed-in tariff has progressively got lower and lower and lower as the amount of solar supply into the network has become higher and higher and higher. Now, we're at the solar industry, the solar systems has grown at a massive rate in Australia. It's probably the fastest growing rooftop solar network in the world. And as there's more and more solar supply comes into the grid during the middle of the day, then the networks have sort of, at some times of the day, struggled to know what to do with that energy. So what they have now been able to do, and it'll come into effect, I think, July 1 in new bills, and not everyone will get it. Some power companies might decide not to do anything with it, is that at certain times of the day, they could actually charge you for exporting energy back to the grid. Now, it may only be like 1.5 cents. It might not be a lot. And then at more appropriate times of the day when they really need the energy, that's when they'll still pay you. There'll always be a feed-in tariff, so they'll still pay you for that. Now, on the average calculation for the average solar customer, they think that it will probably make a difference of about $70 to maybe $100 a year in lower solar savings. So it could cost you about $70 to $100 a year. So you'll still get your self-consumption saving. You'll still get credits for your feed-in tariff, but there's some times a day that they may want to charge you. And that just charge will come off the credit. There's still going to be a balance, so you'll still get a credit. It's just going to be a slightly smaller credit. What times are they thinking of charging you? Probably between around about 10 to 2 in the day, where the houses are empty, but their solar systems are churning out solar power. They having too much energy in the network is almost as much of a problem as having not enough energy in the network. So it still poses problems for them. But the flip side is that they look like they'll probably pay you more for the power in the export power when they really need it. So 2 to 6 o'clock in the evening is that big peak demand hit, and that's when they really are looking for extra power in the network. That's when they're starting to pull even power from batteries and things like that. So there's times where they'll actually pay you more for the power. Now, some studies for some customers in particular situations have actually worked out that this particular feed-in tariff scheme that's proposed, or it's actually locked in, it's coming, for some customers it could actually benefit them. They'll actually increase their savings from solar because through the day maybe they already have some dynamic control devices or some smart control devices in their house where they, rather than export power through the day, they turn on various loads in the house. So they'll run the pool pump, do what we do here, heat the hot water. So we heat our hot water with our surplus solar energy through the day. So there's various things like even, some people have underfloor heating, air conditioning, particularly like particular, like pool pumps, spas, all that sort of thing that you can run to avoid exporting power. So if you do all that sort of stuff through the day, now running a pool pump, doesn't really matter when you do it, just as long as you do it. So you can do it in the middle of the day. Typically we do it at night to save money. Do it through the day with solar power, then you're not exporting, you're using that power. So that's one of the ways that you can actually, take advantage of the system, because if you know that at 4 o'clock in the afternoon you're going to get a really good feed-in tariff, well, then you could also time the loads to be turned off at that point, so that you're exporting maximum amount of energy. So you can, once you know the rules, then you can play the game. So there's a couple of, a few things there. Obviously, a battery also helps. Helps you with export. If you've got a 10 kilowatt hour battery and you tend to flatten that off every night, well, there's 10 kilowatt hours every day that you're not going to export, because the first 10 kilowatt hours of surplus are going to go into your battery and be stored. So that's also a big factor as well. Now, on the other issue of peak demand charges, this is something that's been getting snuck into bills for a while now. It's been in commercial plans for many, many years. But peak demand charge is where at some point in a 30-minute period in a month, you had a peak demand of an X amount. Let's say it's 10 kilowatts. So you can imagine when you turn an appliance on, you turn a kettle on, 2 kilowatts, bam, that's a load of 2 kilowatts. So you're demanding 2 kilowatts from the grid. If you happen to have the air conditioner running as well, and you've turned the oven on, and you've turned various things, other things on, pools on, heating hot water at that time, you might then have a load or a demand of 10 kilowatts. If you sustain that for a half-hour period, then the energy company is going to say, well, hey, you needed 10 kilowatts of demand at that point. So we now have to provide a provision for 10 kilowatts at any time in the next 30 days, and we're going to bill you for that provision. So most of the people bills I've seen are about 38 cents per kilowatt per day of the month. So 10 kilowatt peak demand, $3.80 a day for 30 days on top of your bill. This is on top of the normal charges you've already incurred. So your kilowatt hour unit cost doesn't change. Just this is another bill that goes on top. Now, I had a conversation with a customer recently. About 12 months ago, we put a nice big solar system on his house, made a massive dent on his energy bill. And he's come to me recently with a brand new bill, and it has a peak demand charge on it. Suddenly his bill was $300 more than he was expecting. Guess what? His peak demand charge was about $300. And that was on top of all of the other charges. None of the other, daily supply charge and unit cost, the kilowatt hour cost didn't change. They didn't put those prices up. They just added another cost. So how can you avoid that? Well, you'll always have some sort of peak demand charge. The game is to try and reduce it as much as you can. So when you turn on all of your appliances at once, all of those loads and demands all stack up. They all stack on top of each other. So you might have 2 kilowatts on a kettle. Now the kettle only goes for a few minutes, so it's probably not going to impact too much. But if you've got a load, let's say you're heating hot water, you've got a dryer going, you've got an air conditioner going, like winter is always going to be a real problematic time because we put heaters on and they're going to run for longer periods of time. You could easily, over a half-hour period, demonstrate that you need a peak demand of 10 kilowatts or more. So what we need to do is we still need to use those appliances, but maybe we space the use out a little bit. So we don't turn the dryer. We don't turn the dryer on maybe when we know the hot water's heating, or we don't use various other appliances like when the pool's running, or maybe the spa's heating, or something like that. We don't run them all at the same time. We space them out, turn them on at different times. So that's one way. I did an exercise a few years ago now. It's quite a lot of years ago now, where a small gymnasium they had a massive peak demand charge. And it turned out that at 8 o'clock in the morning when they'd go to open up, the operator would go and turn everything on. And they had like 25 spin bikes and had 6 air conditioners or something like that. They had all the exercise bikes and all the other equipment, everything. The drinks, the TVs, they had like 5 flat screen TVs, and back then they were plasma screens. And they'd go and turn everything on at the same time. And I asked the question, well, when's your first spin class? Because that spin room there has a stereo going, the lights are flashing, they've got all the lights on, and all the bikes were on, the air conditioner was running. And so, well, the first spin class is 11:30 this morning. So you've got that room turned on for 3 hours before anyone's ever going to walk into it. What's the problem with turning all of that stuff on half an hour before the first person walks into it? Oh, okay, right. So when they were able to then stagger the turning on phase of the gymnasium at different times of when they actually needed it, rather than just coming in and turn everything on, they saved thousands of dollars per year, and it was just purely on peak demand. Now, of course, they also saved money on the kilowatt hour unit charge as well, because not running the spin room for 3 hours saved them energy. So they saved massive amounts of money just by being sensible in the way they turned various loads on throughout the gym, and yeah, that was a very worthwhile process for them to go through. And you can go through the same process at home. Now, typically we have less load items at the home, not like a gymnasium where we've got all these things turned on, but we still have air conditioners and hot water heaters and dryers and washing machines, dishwashers, plasma screens or TVs. Things like, I've been into some homes where they've got 3 TVs all running, nobody's watching them. You go into a particular zone in the house and the air conditioner's running, the room's like 19 degrees. Nobody's going to go in there for the whole day. So just look at various loads in the house, and that's how you can cut down your peak demand. How else can we cut down peak demand? Obviously having solar, but that is dependent on the sun shining. But if you had solar and a battery, now the batteries will typically have a 5 kilowatt hybrid inverter in it. So if you've got, say, 5 kilowatt solar system and then a hybrid battery, then that battery can discharge and support those loads that exceed the solar output. So if a cloud comes over, the battery can supply the loads, and that is the battery is very, very good at reducing peak demand charges because it's spreading your solar footprint into the evening long after the sun goes down, and you're still using solar power to support your loads. So this is where batteries really do come in and help us a lot with peak demand charges. So that's probably, in a nutshell, what I'd had to share with you today. So basically, if you can turn loads on at different times, obviously use less loads, utilize your solar power. There's a lot of smart devices. We use them here to turn on hot water, turn on other devices when you've got surplus solar. Even EVs, even your electric vehicle, we've got chargers that we can just simply run and charge the car only when there's surplus solar power, and only on surplus solar power. So you've got the opportunity there to be able to even run your car, if it's an EV, on solar power only. That's also a great way of eliminating exported power and reducing peak demand, because when you turn an EV on, you've suddenly got a demand of about 7 kilowatts on a single phase EV charger if it's a wall charger. So if you can run that charger on surplus solar energy, you eliminate that from your peak demand and save yourself more money. So your EV, not only it saves you money because you're not buying fuel, but it saves you even more money by charging it at the appropriate time with the right type of energy, being your green energy rather than grid-powered bought energy. So hopefully that gives you a bit of food for thought. There are lots of other little methods, and especially with our smart control devices. Catch Power is one company that does probably the best dynamic control devices in our industry. They can help with zero exporting, like cutting down the export from your inverter so you don't export at certain times, and you can export at other times. It'll turn loads on, turn loads off. It'll help with voltage issues. It'll help, you can just use it as a basic timer. So there's lots and lots of different uses for these control relays that Catch Power make. We use a Catch Power for our hot water. So all of our surplus solar energy goes into our hot water, and we heat that for free every day. Even on bad days, it still seems to get the job done. So that's great. Okay, guys, you can get more information from me by sending me an email or give me a call. I'm Cameron at freedomsolarandbatteries.com.au. You can hop onto our website at www.freedomsolarandbatteries.com.au, and we've got a form there that you can fill out there to ask for more information, and you can even attach documents to that. So if you were to attach some photos or maybe a copy of your electricity bill, you can attach that to that inquiry form. Even if you're looking for, want to use HandyPay Finance to finance a new solar system or battery, you can even do that directly from our website. Go take you through to the HandyPay page, and you can get a pre-approval even before you even want to talk to me. So that's all convenient that you can get done straight away. So look, that's about it from me, and yeah, look forward to chatting to you soon. And I've got some other topics I want to talk about in the next video, which I'm pretty excited about, a new thing. So I'll keep an eye out for my next video coming out shortly. So talk to you soon, guys. Bye.